will be considered in the next two agenda items. There was a handout provided by members of the public to distribute to the board. Chairman, it's up to your discretion if you feel that that is appropriate. If you do, I'm happy to distribute to them.
Sure, that's fine by me.
Great.
Well, thank you. So we do have some public speaker requests, and so I think what we'll do is if you will introduce yourself or take us through the project, and I think specifically if you can focusing on convincing evidence of unreasonable hardship, and then we can have a discussion amongst us, and then we'll bring the speakers up, and then you'll have a chance to address. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for seeing me. My name's Seabold. I'm the founder of aDoor Properties. So it's odd. I'm actually on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, so I've never been actually on this side. It's more nerve-wracking than being on your side, so we'll do my best. So, real quick, a brief history of our company. We were founded in 2012. We started with renovation projects and restoration projects, and then we obviously grew and became bigger and moved into other aspects of the building world. Our current president is the president of HBA. I'm the chairman of First City Art Center. Like I said, I'm on the Zoning Board of Adjustments. We're not out-of-town developers. We live here. We work here. Our businesses are here. I'm also a small business owner. I own one of the oldest bars in Pensacola and the oldest bar in its niche, concept. So, this history is important to us. It's just, when we came upon this property, we went under contract as a renovation project. We were going to build a new property on one lot and renovate the current house. We did a 45-day due diligence period, which I knew we got some pushback on the seller for that because apparently that had happened a couple of times before. And inside of that, we had our two contractors and an independent licensed inspector come in to kind of show us what we're getting into. And as we kept going through everything, it just became way more than what any of us had anticipated. The condition of the house was worse than what we had anticipated, especially the structural parts and what really was keeping it together. And, it doesn't tell that story on the outside, but when you get into the inside, it's a much different story. And we're not talking about cosmetically, we're talking about the structural foundations and rafters and all of this kind of stuff of the house. We, let's get through my little, so we didn't back out of the project because after doing all of this, and once again, two contractors and then an independent inspector said kind of the same thing, and also we learned that 7 other offers had fallen through, kind of from what we had heard for the same reasons. We decided to push through because in this district, you can, apply for a bulldoze permit under certain stipulations, and we felt that after a year or so or more on the market, everything that was going on, we kind of had met those. We kind of were in the same boat as everybody else, so that's when we pushed forward for the demo part. After we pushed through that, we additionally, just to make sure we were trying to do everything right and above board, we had another contractor come at it and look at it. Same opinion. We additionally had a specialist that renovated and rehabbed houses in Colorado in the historical district come down and look at it and came to the same conclusion, between the mold and the fires and the organic compound of the brick piers disintegrating, this structurally was unsound and not what we were able to do, whether it's financially or not. The house, from our understanding, from what we have been told in our research, is not savable in the condition that it's in. So that's kind of where we got to the point that we are currently. And I think that, we can all agree that we should preserve when we can. And I think that unfortunately, every time we see an old house go down or something like that, it's the developers could have done better, we could have done this, we could have done that. You know, we've really tried to do our due diligence here, went through the processes that we needed to do, contacted the right people to do what we needed to do, and this is the determination that we came with. We didn't buy this property to then just turn around and bulldoze it and do all of that. That's just not what we do. And, you know, I'm familiar with these rules. Obviously, being on a city board myself, I understand the severity of this, so it's not anything more than that. You know, there was, I think Christian Wagley, I love that, right? The notes, you know, said that it's about profit and we, you know, sell millions of dollars of houses and all this. I'm like, that it's not about a profit here. We can't see a fundamental reason to save this house, whether there was a profit or not. We're not talking about saving it because of a profit. We're talking about what experts in this field have said, the condition of this house is. So, you know, we feel that, or I guess I should say, I feel, the company feels as well that, like, this house did not get to this condition over one day, you know, months, year. This has happened year after year after year after year of, you know, just being open to the elements, not necessarily being taken care of in the right way, and it just fell into disrepair. Nobody's fault. It's just where we are today. And, you know, that's kind of where we're going down this road. And I think, you know, Ms. Courtney, you said on an interview with WER that this is an opportunity for aDoor to come to show social consciousness for the history of Pensacola. And so in that, I've attached some pictures this morning of, and I don't know, were you able to upload them? We can go to the Gregory Street. So this house was, I think I was on 422 East Gregory Street. We were building a development in the Villers neighborhood, and we purchased this property. Amongst other properties, this house was sitting there. This was before the bulldoze moratorium. This wasn't in a protected area. However, the community decided that this house was worth saving. They wanted to save it, so we did just that. We spent $30,000 and had this house relocated to another lot, a block or two away. It was a client who was in the neighborhood association who said, I'll take it. You guys will pay for it to move, we'll do it. We did that. 8 years later, the bottom pictures, or those pictures right there, I'm sorry, are of the house in its current state. So we spent.
So you actually restored that?
No, we didn't restore it. We moved it.
Oh, you moved it.
We were asked to, instead of bulldozing it, would we consider at our expense moving it to a lot? So the first two pictures, I'm so sorry, if you'll back up, that's when we moved it off the lot that we had. The next four pictures are those were taken 2 weeks ago of the current condition that the house is in. So once again, we have moved up one problem and created another problem. And when we do that, like, what are we doing to protect this? You know, and that's kind of where we are. It's nobody's fault that now that house 8 years later has continued to rot and all of that. But if somebody wants to bulldoze it, or it comes, like, who makes that determination that it's in such disrepair that it can't? And that's kind of, like I said, where we're at. So I know y'all are going to have a lot to say, so.
Thank you.
I'll quit
Yes,
rambling.
there are many people waiting
Sure.
to speak to this issue today. And since you brought up the WEAR, I would say, I reiterate that I do offer this as a challenge and an opportunity to show your good intentions is for the fabric of history, for the fabric of our neighborhood, for the love of beauty. That's a beautiful, it could be a beautiful house. And my husband and I came close to purchasing it, and we just don't have deep enough pockets. And my challenge to you is that, you know, you have the crews, you have the people. That was another reason, is we don't have those people who can, okay, we're going to do the roof now. Okay, we're going to do the electrical now. Okay, plumbing. So, and the foundation of that house has been mostly protected because of that wraparound porch. It has prevented a lot of settling. When we bought our house that we restored over the last 28 years, We had to jack up corners of our house over a foot. And we've done a lot of the work ourselves. We went all through that house, and at that point, of course, that was 2 years ago, but so much of it was intact. And,
Right.
you know, pocket doors, mantles, things that,
Those things that you're referring to.
I'll just stop that now, because there are other people that
Sure.
need to talk.
The things that you're referring to, obviously pocket doors, mantles, whatever, those are cosmetic. That doesn't deal with the structure of the house.
You're right,
And
you're
so-
right. The
and I would also-
importance is saving the external
Right, 'cause I'd also
appearance.
say, if this house were to be safe, what we do on the inside, we can do whatever we want.
Right,
Correct,
correct.
right?
You are right.
So it's only the external, right? And so
Yes.
2 years ago, on a house that's sitting open to elements with no protection and water and moisture coming in on all the time, it's going to look different 2 years later. I think we all can agree with that. So I appreciate and I understand where you're coming from, and maybe 2 years ago when we purchased this, it could have been a renovation project. I'm just speaking to where we are today and what we purchased. So it may be a little different than when you saw it.
Yeah. if I'm-
Sorry.
Yeah,
Back to you.
good. Before we get all into the speakers and deep into the discussion, I do want to just say, you know, I admire your company model and success in facilitating incremental development throughout Pensacola and getting investment here. That being said, the Land Development Code strongly discourages demolishing historic structures. So I think the main point of the discussion, there's a long list of items in here that need to be submitted and
Right.
and then on top of that, we're directed we've got some like criteria to consider about the structure, and this house kind of checks all those boxes. I mean, it's be difficult to reproduce the design today. It's one of the last remaining examples of its kind. So there's a lot of things there. So and then on top of that, we're even asked to consider, you know, what's going there in its
Yeah.
place. And I think, you know, both of those houses are very nice homes. That being said, they don't compare to the uniqueness of that structure, and as presented, kind of, you know, almost seem, you know, like they're selected out of a home's catalog, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, that's a great way to find a home and saves money on the design cost of a custom element, but that certainly, you know, having something more unique, custom fitting would make the deliberations easier. But before, you know, getting into that too much, I think it's really important. You know, we've got some experts here on the board in construction. I know we've see Jonathan Bilby back there, who I know has walked through the building. So I think it's important when we've got Ross, he can kind of weigh in on the structure. But so I kind of would like to do that first,
Yeah.
because I think first thing is making a determination. You know, is it feasible to repair it at a reason, you know, and then we can kind of go from there.
Mr.
So-
Chair, if I may, I have a question for staff, or a couple questions, actually. Do we have any, I didn't see it on the record, but I wanted to ask, do we have any engineer's report that says that the structure is unsound and unsafe?
We do not.
Okay.
It does reference the building official being asked to look at it in the application. We do have the building official here, and he
Have we
did-
been given any finding that the building is unsafe and unsound?
He did visit the property. He was able to see the exterior because a formal request was not made to actually tour the inside. If you'd like to hear from the building official, he is here and can speak to
But
that.
I mean, we don't have a finding right now.
We
that-
do not.
That this is, in fact, from an engineering or building perspective, unsafe and likely to be a danger to other properties or persons.
Correct. It has not been deemed unsafe by the building official. The application also did not include any engineering or inspections from the applicant's part.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so could we,
Yeah.
Jonathan, would you mind, I mean, you've walked through the building and yeah, I do think that's kind of a
Yeah, I agree.
critical item of the application would be, having that, so. Or you can, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon. Jonathan Bilby, Building Inspections Director. So I have not been through the building. I've visited from the exterior. I could not determine any unsafe elements as far as the city Code of Ordinances directs us to look at the International Property Maintenance Code, the criteria for unsafe. From an exterior standpoint, I definitely can't determine that it is unsafe. It does not check the boxes. I would be willing to walk through the interior with the applicant at some point, but I have not done that yet.
Okay. Ross, would you like to add
Want me to
anything
weigh in
before we?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been through the house. It's been probably a year now that I was through it, but when I first went there, I was amazed at how intact it was. It needs work. I won't ignore that, but it had a lot of the original features to it. It's a unique style house that I've never seen another one here, especially for the age that it is, 1892. This is why I think Old East Hill was set up to preserve contributing structures, and this is one of the unique ones in the district. This has a unique part to it that there is another lot next to, or it's a very big lot. So it's not that, the house has to come down for something new to go in. There's an opportunity to do something different on that site. I think looking at it, I know it's going to take a lot of investment to be put into it to make it a livable house again, but we've seen that multiple times at this board. I've been through houses where I was told not to walk on parts of the floor because you may go through it, but I've seen people go through in that process. There are programs out there, the ad valorem tax exemption or tax credit, where the property value won't be increased based on the improvements you make. We did that to a house in North Hill that required a significant amount of work to it. They saved the shell of it and pretty much rebuilt the interior. There's a number of other houses that were similar to that, but it helps a property owner who wants to save it make financial sense. I think the other part was when it was up for sale, it was out of people's reach to save the house at that point because they know how much they have to put into it. If the house was on its own lot and the other lot was developable and the house was at a reasonable price, I think somebody would be interested in taking it on as a project. We've seen worse houses. Actually, one earlier, the North Hill house, earlier in the package, has been sitting there for quite a while and will take quite an investment for that property. This is similar, and the architecture of this one's more intact. It's exactly what the ARB is here to review and look at and make sure we're not losing these kind of structures. And I'm worried about Old East Hill with new construction that's moving in, changes to existing houses, that it's going to start losing that character that it's had, which it's the next district to really see a lot of development, and saving houses like this is important to that area.
It seems like from the application, the critical piece we're missing would be a, report saying an engineer, an inspector's report. So in my mind, we're missing some information, to approve a demolition with.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I just want to speak to the, from what I understand, this is an 1892 construction, which, in my experience, my house is 1911, and I've seen houses that are older. A lot of the Turner properties, this is not Turner, but it's of a same or earlier vintage. Those are made with old-growth timber. Old-growth timber can endure a tremendous amount of abuse that modern lumber simply can't. And so conditions that on their face might affect trim and siding and things like that are not necessarily going to materially affect the body of the house and its bones. Speaking to the point of the house in North Hill that we looked at, that structure's gutted inside. I mean, literally, there's nothing but studs inside of it, the last time that I looked at it. And so I think it comes down from my perspective and I think the plea here is that the economic feasibility of treating this as an investment property makes it daunting to accomplish with regards to the amounts that would have to be put into this as an investment vehicle for the company that is doing it. Having said that, Ross has identified that the other lot could easily be subdivided. I don't think there's any prohibition against doing that. I certainly would support that. It makes sense. It's a very large lot. And that would take away the issues with regard to economic feasibility because things could still be done on that property that would be economically viable and get a decent return and allow someone who wishes to build this house for their own use presents a different economic pattern that can be accomplished that an investment opportunity which is looking for a certain rate of return isn't necessarily going to accomplish. And to echo the chair's point, again, without some indication that this house simply cannot stand as it sits structurally, I think my understanding of the code and our objectives here in terms of preservation is pretty clear. As far as I've done some research, I can only find one other Second Empire house in the state of Florida is in Gainesville. This is, however, a very interesting hybrid of either Southern farmhouse or low country with this mansard Second Empire treatment. As far as I can tell, it is literally unique. There is nothing like that out there with this broad sweeping wraparound porch. It is unique to itself with an interesting mixture of architectural styles. So from that standpoint, even given the history aside and its presence in the district, this would be worth keeping.
Does anybody have anything else to add before we bring up all the speakers?
I'd like to add one more thing, and that is this house is 133 years old, and the money that you would have to, I'm still trying to get you to invest in this house. What can I say? The money that you would have to spend to tear it down, to build a new house, the money for those windows, the money for that plumbing, the money for that electrical, the money for that roofing. I really, I think it would be a beautiful intent, good intentions that you would be showing us.
Any other, before we bring up the speakers? No? Okay, so I'll call you up in the order I've received these, and I think we're going to try to, there's a lot of speakers, so if you could try to limit it to 3 minutes. Susan Ford.
Hey, I'll be quick because I babble. So I'm with the Old East Hill Preservation District, and in light of the push to save 520 from demolition, we do have several neighbors here to speak, and I think a lot of us have gotten frustrated when people commented to us that if you love the house so much, buy it and restore it yourself. If it came that easy to the average Old East Hill resident, it would have already been done by one of us. Old East Hill has a magnetic charm. All of our neighbors know each other. We love hanging out at each other's homes and hearing the varied histories. And a lot of us were lucky to buy when prices were low. Some are on fixed incomes now. Some invested their own money, time, and elbow grease, and they're here to speak as well. But many of us have a common thread that the neighborhood or a particular house drew them there as if it had a purpose to do so. Our neighbors were hopeful when offers from individuals to restore 520 and make it a family home were on the table. When those fell through, we put word out to other potential buyers. Evidently, we did not try hard enough, but right there is the crux of the biscuit. This is not our job. Our job is to be good neighbors, watch out for one another, and throw a pretty fabulous porch party. Old East Hill residents are here today, taking time off from work, or in my case, potentially running late, to plead with aDoor to do their job in doing what is right for Old East Hill. Work with us, hear us out, and let us show you why the little preservation district that could is so important.
Thank you. Next, Seth Haynes.
Thank you all for your time today. I wanted to take a moment to speak. We are newer to Pensacola, moved here last year, and from Charleston, South Carolina. So if anyone can speak on what it takes to restore a house, we would bless your heart all the way across the county line if you said you couldn't restore this. But speaking on behalf of the neighborhood and East Hill, it is a neighborhood itself, unique in culture. It is defined by its architecture, its people, its shape, and its layout. Each area of a city is itself just one unique part that, when surrounded by unique neighborhoods, set a tone for the city as a whole. Old East Hill is on unique culture mix with several different historic homes, filled not only with history, but also filled with current residents who make it is what it is today. Tearing down a structure that is so unique will not only change the culture of the architecture, it can also lead to the change of its people. The allure, the historic charm will fade for each new non-conforming build, and the people will change as well. Suddenly, you may not have neighbors that care about preservation, and as more things come to the future in light, they will vote for the new modern build. So we are here today asking to deny this demolition, but asking aDoor to be a good neighbor. As a developer, they have a chance to set a tone for what kind of neighbor they want to be. One that stepped in and saved a historic structure, a legacy they can boast about and be proud of, or a neighbor who ran a wrecking ball through history and leaves generic builds behind. From a financial standpoint, they can still build a home on the existing empty lot, one that will hopefully stand just as grand as the other structures around it. They may say it may cost too much, but looking at the numbers from others who have looked at it, that unfortunately cannot get the type of loan needed to do it, it is feasible. And coming and looking around at Zillow and other things that have recently sold, including the recent purchase of my own home, averages in the East Hill, downtown, North Hill area are now reaching well over $1 million. If you put in the work, you will get the return. And I thank you all for my time.
Thank you. Jeff Elbert.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jeff Elbert. I'm from 616 East Belmont. I couldn't help but notice, and first let me make it clear, we too agree. We respect aDoor. They're a great company. They're a profitable company, and they're a good steward of our community. So, and I feel like I speak for the entire neighborhood in saying that. But I couldn't help but remember an old adage that I hear, don't ask for permission first, ask for permission or for forgiveness later. My main problem is that they're not coming to you with a sales contract contingent upon demolition. They bought it first, and now they're coming and asking for forgiveness later. I feel very strongly that they can make money restoring this house. If you notice, if you read between the lines, they're going to make more money if they tear it down and build two houses. That's basic economics. The reason I feel like that is I own 616 East Belmont. If you look in the package that was given to you, there's some pictures of our house. It literally was 3 walls and a prayer. We had to completely demolish the truss system because of massive fire. We retrussed it. We kept the original siding where we could. There was not one interior wall that could be saved. The entire back of the house had to be rebuilt. But we did it, and thankful thankfully also for you guys, because if you're not saving these houses, the neighborhood isn't as profitable and the equity isn't there. I am fortunate, and I'm so thankful that I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity in that house. If I were to purchase it the same amount of money that they purchased that one, I would still have over six figures in equity after everything we did, including retrussing it, rebuilding every interior wall and the back of the house. So right now, if you drive down East Belmont, there's half a dozen houses that are gutted. The one on 8th, there's no wall on the side. They're rebuilding it. It can be done. I'm proof. Many of the people in this audience are proof that it can be done. So we just ask you, please, it's unforgivable to tear this house down. Thank you.
Thank you. Abigail Barnett?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Abby Barnett. I own the house across the street from this house, 600 East Jackson Street. We bought it in 2022, renovated it. We've also renovated a couple other old houses, one on South de Villiers, built in 1910, and then my husband did one at 1500 East Jackson Street, which was built in 1918. So we're not big developers, we're not experts by any means, but we've done it a few times to kind of know what to look for. And so whenever this house came up for sale, we went under contract on it. I believe it was in May of last year, May of 2024. And so I spent hours in the house meeting with contractors and kind of coming up with a project cost. And so our deal fell through due to financing. And that's because for this kind of house, it was going to require all cash or a renovation loan. And for the renovation loan, it was going to be the purchase price of the house and the entire renovation cost. And it was going to be at 10 to 12%. So we were under contract for $400,000. All my numbers here show that a full restoration would be $400,000. So they weren't going to let us subdivide. They weren't going to let us put any cash towards it. So it was going to be just way too much for just an individual couple to do. But I do have, and with meeting with people, I've pretty reputable contractors came out, AFS for foundation, Aggressive Plumbing, Mark Taylor Construction, JG Electric, M3 Air Conditioning, so reputable contractors in this area. And particularly the biggest one to me is AFS for foundation. I have a quote here from them saying that, well, first of all, they commented on how amazing the foundation for the house was for its age and for being exposed to the elements. And so they had to keep the house stable and do the foundation work. They gave me a quote of $25,000, a little bit over $25,000. And so that was for the underneath the house foundation. And then also there was some foundational issues with the porch, which Mark Taylor Construction gave us a quote for fixing that, which was going to be $28,000. But altogether, and the spreadsheet is also in that packet that they gave you, but altogether it's just under $400,000 for a full restoration is what we came up with. So, I mean, and I'm also a realtor with Location Real Estate. I've comped the property. I believe it's to be, like, once it's restored, even this is being subdivided, I think the subdivided lot is probably worth about $150,000 as it is. And then with the house, I mean, a year ago, I had somebody else comp it with me, and we came to about $850 for the house. So I think that it would be, I mean, not only would restoring it save a historic home, but it would also give somebody a significant profit. So that's all I have. So thank you guys for listening to me.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you guys for this packet. So, Beverly Elliott?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I've heard I've heard y'all say a lot of the things I wanted to say about the uniqueness of the house. I have my personal feelings about when the property was bought, what the intentions were, but that's just me personally. I've been in the neighborhood since 1974. I've saved 4 structures in the neighborhood from being demolished, and have, in my 80th year, just recently, I have turned over 2 large Victorians to other people because I was no longer able to take care of them. What I'm wondering about Miss Lola's house, and I knew Miss Lola, and I walked the neighborhood with Miss Lola. I'm wondering why there are people and places in Pensacola that are so highly recognized, and one of the things about a historic district and a historic home is who lived there. Miss Lola, as you have in your packet, seen some things, but she was a very powerful force in our area. She was the woman's representative to Washington, D.C. for Northwest Florida. She was the first woman to get a realtor's license in the state of Florida, wrote 2 books on St. Michael's Cemetery, was an official officer of the World Theosophical Society, started a chapter of Penn Women locally after she met and was inspired by Eleanor Roosevelt. She was a diplomat to Venezuela. And she told me that one of the reasons she became a realtor was because she could buy houses for cash and then turn around and sell them to black friends of hers. Some of them were her maids, some of them were her gardeners, some of them were just her acquaintances, and sell them to them on payments so that they were able to purchase homes. She was a very philanthropic woman. She was a very interesting woman. And, you know, I know we have a lot of to-do about Chappie James, and I think it's well-deserved. What the heck is going on that we're not recognizing Miss Lola and the many, many, many contributions that she contributed to Pensacola? And I could go on, but you've heard enough. And I want to tell you that aDoor builds some good-looking houses. My problem with them is they have hardy board on them, and hardy board lasts for 30 years. Come on. This old girl's been there over 100 years, and she needs to stay there. I sold my big houses so that, and the people that took them have redone them, and they're beautiful, living, loving, laughing houses and contributing to our neighborhood. And this one can be also, they can, and also having said that, I have a gentleman, he is a dentist in town with deep pockets, and when I talked to him accidentally on Saturday, he complimented me on what the Barnetts had done to the house across the street. And I said, well, if you want to look at it, you need to buy the one across the street. And when I told him that aDoor had made someone an offer to sell it for $250 but keep the lot, he said, I am all over it. He is at a conference now. He will be back Sunday, and I will be happy to give you the information if you are willing to sell it to him. And I also told him that the cost would be $400,000 to repair it, and he said, I got friends and friends of friends. And he does. He buys and sells houses, and he wants this one for himself. He's just gotten married, and they want to start a family. They love our neighborhood. He was very down in the dumps when he didn't get plumberry, that's now blueberry, that the Barnetts have. And that's all I'm going to say is, you know, I worked for 50 years in this neighborhood to keep houses from being torn down. I bought them and resold them to people so that the houses could be lived in and loved in. And I ask you to please deny the tear down of Miss Lola's house. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank all of you for coming out. So I think that's the end of the public speakers. Did any of you guys have some comments?
Mr.
questions?
Chair, if I could ask if we could maybe solicit, because we've had a lot of comments, and have the applicant, if there's any response he wishes to make on any of these points, they have the opportunity to do that.
Yes, thank you.
So, we had mentioned that we are more than willing to sell this portion of the house. I know that we spoke to Nanette Chandler about it. She looked at buying it, and it was just not something she was willing to take on. She put it out. We still are open to that. We will keep one lot and sell this. If the demo permit is denied, we are not going to restore this house. We will put it back on the market, and it will sit and somebody can buy it. We will obviously reduce the price because we got it with a lot, and we'll take that out of it. But our company has no intention of restoring it based on everything that we have gone through. If somebody wants to purchase it, we are also more than happy to sell. We've said that. I posted that in a comment on Facebook when all of this started going down. We are completely open to that. It's just not something that we're going to do based on our information and what we researched, because we're being told that it's beyond repairable. If somebody else wants to do it, we're totally fine with that. Like I said, we'll keep one lot and sell off the house. So, that's, all I will say. I think that there's a lot of assumptions here in regards of how we finance and structure our company. We do not have bags and bags of cash just laying around. Most of our properties, if not all of them, are done through private equity, and we also get loans. So some of the same things that people are running into with the financing and the percentage rates, we have that same problem. We don't have millions of dollars just sitting around that everything we do is cash. No one does. It's always leveraged. And so we run into the same issue that a lot of these other people who backed out of it did. And we didn't do anything shady. We're not asking for forgiveness. We're going through the proper channels that we're allowed to go through in order to do this. Asking forgiveness later would be we accidentally bulldozed the house. We didn't. We're here. We're talking. We're transparent. We've had interviews with media. We've done everything that we're supposed to do to get to this point, which is something we're allowed to do that's available in this zone. So we're just taking the steps that the city provides. So that's all I got.
Well, certainly, the last thing, and I think you guys would agree, is you don't want to see a derelict house sit there for years and years, and it's a safety issue. Ideal world, it's purchased and restored, and I'm open to entertaining the development idea, but I just today, without some kind of engineering report, with a whole community here, with the code that we have in front of us, I don't see any route, in my opinion, to grant the demolition. Although that being said, I'm certainly open to it, because I always want to create a route for bettering our community, and seeing some investment. And that is one of the things we're supposed to consider. And having someone there occupying a home is better than having a house that's falling down. But hopefully, the right person will come along and
yeah, I would say that we will be, we will go get, if you guys need to see engineering reports and stuff like that, we'll be reaching out to the engineers that provided us to get this, and then we'll be going that route. In the meantime, the house is for sale if anybody wants it. But it's we're not renovating it, and we will get the reports that you guys are seeking and come back and go through it. That in the meantime, like I said, if somebody wants it, feel free to contact us. So, that's kind of where we are.
Mr. Chair, with that, I'd say if it was divided, you had the one lot you can develop, and then this house is for sale at a reduced price to make it encouraging for people to tackle. It'd be better, if they didn't do it and some other person bought it, and ideally, they would live there because then they can qualify for the tax exemption I talked about, and just letting people know there's other things out there that help offset some of the costs. It's still going to be expensive, but like we saw with the one example, but that helps make the numbers work a little bit better. I can't talk about the loan stuff. I don't know
Right.
that, but there are things, I think it'd be, what time, I don't know what the time would be, but we could see what interest is out there. And then it doesn't sell in a year, whatever, then there's more of a case for a hardship. But right now, I think there's energy around it and it's in the news, so maybe there's a chance somebody will come in and buy it.
That's good. That's a good point. You've gotten some very good marketing for selling it.
Yeah, it's been great marketing for us. Yeah, so that's, I mean, like I said, we are not going to wait a year. I mean, obviously, we're going to continue to move forward in the path that I just said. And so, I would urge all these people that have so many things to say, and now we know the path that it's going, the path that I'm seeking, to do something about it and not, don't just talk about it, do something. You want to save it, save it. I'm willing to sell it. I'm willing to do whatever you guys want. But we're also going to follow our path and work on getting those reports for you guys. We'll get them from numerous engineers and send it over, and then we can go from there. So,
Okay.
anything else?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So you have this application for the demolition, and then you have the subsequent application, which is for, I think, conceptual review for some replacements. If this were to be denied, and I'm not saying it is, but I can read the wind, are you still going forward with any of those designs for the other lot or not?
Yeah, we would. I would have to initially when we turn them so they face Jackson.
Yeah.
So we will be submitting one, if not both of those, for the purposes of where we are.
Okay,
I need
that's
to
what I
re-
wanted to
yeah,
ask,
I
is
need
whether
to
or not
re-
those would be moot if the demolition was denied, or if one of them would still go forward.
One of them will still go forward, but I'd have to relook at it and obviously provide a new site plan because the direction of the house would be changing and all of that.
All right,
So
that clarifies it. That's what I
you
thought.
don't have to go through those two today.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we deny the application for demolition on grounds that this is a unique architectural and historical structure dating to really the foundation of the Old East Hill neighborhood, and that it has not been shown to suffer from structural defects or other matters that make it unsafe or unsound or make it infeasible, other than as a financial matter, to renovate and preserve in some capacity, and that because there is continuing economic viability for the balance of the property and the other lot, that this doesn't provide a sufficient degree of hardship for purposes of denying the demolition, as the indication is there may well be buyers, and there is an interest in selling the property for that purpose. So with that, that's my motion.
We have a
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
And to the end, since the applicant's made a statement, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, that would make the other motion moot. Is the other application moot at this point, or is it going to be withdrawn?
I would imagine since, as Mr. Seabold said, the orientation of the two new construction lots, you couldn't even look at the secondary lot because of the way they were oriented. So yeah, the next two items wouldn't be reviewed. And just to clarify, the denial was based on code section 12.3.10.1
Yes, for clarification.
clarification.
Okay, well, thank you
Thank you.
so much, and look forward to seeing the house, and I hope you find a buyer, the right, it's going to take the right buyer, but
Sure.
I hope you find them.
Agreed. Thank you, guys.
All right, so,
ask aDoor permission for our community to also have an engineer to give us our certificates and
Okay, so, Ms. Walker, I guess we're scratching a couple, but when you're ready, the next item, please.
A moment. All right, the last item on the agenda is 312 East LaRua Street. This is in Old East Hill Preservation District, Zone OEH C1, City Council District 6. This is for a variance. Nanette Chandler is seeking a variance to reduce the minimum floor area for multifamily developments from 6